is a former executive secretary of the United Nations Committee on World Food Security. He joins me live from Paris. Chris, it's a pleasure seeing you. So we just have quite a bit to unpack there. Firstly, does food safety mean the same to everyone? I ask because you find harmful bacteria in street food quite often, which people love. And of course, it changes depending on where you go. How do you change that cultural mindset that you need to be mindful of what you eat on streets?
Well, it's a great question, and happy World Food Safety Day. It happens every year on June 7th and celebrated and brought to people's attention worldwide by the WHO in Geneva and FAO in Rome, the two UN agencies who are most involved in this issue. But it really is an issue for every single person around the world, rich, poor, developed country, developing country. Look, we all eat every day. We all have to be both educated and aware of the risks of food safety, and we have to be educated to understand how to prepare our food, how to store our food, and how to consume our food. So the risks are always there. I think you already mentioned in the in the introduction, rather, that according to the WHO, 1.6 million people worldwide become ill each day on average from unsafe food. 340 children under the age of 5 die every day on average because of preventable foodborne diseases. So this really is a major issue, and I'm glad you're bringing it to the attention of your audience.
Can you expand a bit more on where these deaths occur across the world? And when you say preventable foodborne illnesses, what do you mean?
Well, I'm talking about cleanliness, right? I'm talking about washing food before it's eaten. I'm talking about storage of food. For example, mayonnaise, a product I commonly eat, you can't leave it out on a shelf and expect it to remain safe once opened. So this is for meats, it's for vegetables, it's for all sorts of foods. And especially when you have, I think you asked about street food, a wonderful source for millions of people around the world of nutritious, healthy foods. But if it's not handled properly, if food workers, for example, are not washing their hands before handling food, these are serious issues. In fact, this was my mother's profession as a health educator in the United States, to inspect restaurants to make sure that they were following codes. And this is where local governments, national and city and local level, are really on top of these top of these issues, to inspect restaurants, to inspect food handlers, and make sure that the public health and safety is protected.
How does the public protect? I remember a few years ago in Caracas, I had to be hospitalized after having a watermelon juice. You don't always see what a cook does in a kitchen. How do you protect yourself in public?
I think it's a question of risk management. I think if you are in certain countries, at one point as a young man, I taught in Bangladesh, and I knew you don't drink the water unless it comes from a closed, sealed bottle. There are ways to minimize the risk, protect yourself, and it's really about it's mostly about education and understanding where these diseases come from and how to protect yourself. Right? Always wash your hands before eating, if possible. Those are a few things, but it's also good to know, if you're traveling, as most of us do at some point, what are the high risk, what are the low risk products. You typically try to avoid certain places if you are uncomfortable. If it doesn't look clean, it probably isn't. So there are basic risk aversion strategies you can take, everyone can take.
Chemicals and additives are also a concern for the World Health Organization. What does this refer to exactly? Pesticides on plants come to mind. Chemicals used on animal agriculture come to mind. Is that what they're referring to?
I think there's a variety of issues here, and they're complicated. It's not a quick answer, but I think when people hear or worried about pesticides, I think they're correct to be better informed and educated about the role of pesticides, right? They should be legally regulated, monitored, and measured and tested by government regulators. It's, you know, you can choose if you wish to only purchase biological or organic products that do not use pesticides, but the fact of the matter is the around the world you're going to have pesticides, and it's a question of, you know, trust in your government that they're measuring and testing properly, and that the products you're buying are labeled. And this is a big thing that the WHO and FAO work on, is to strengthen labeling regimes so you know what you're getting when you purchase food. And if it has pesticides, then you have to make a decision, personal decision, whether or not you want to eat those. But typically, most reputable food companies are going to go to lengths to protect the consumers, because it's expensive to have a food recall or to have a food illness outbreak. So it's it's a question of education and regulation and personal choice.
Interesting. It's such a fascinating topic, particularly in an atmosphere where sometimes labeling is too small to read. All right, we'll have to leave it there. Mr. Chris Hegadorn, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.